Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For Fact's Sake. My name is Kwesi Veins, and we're coming to you live from Studio 9 here in beautiful Tobago, the capital of paradise. And the excitement is on the ground, and everyone is talking about what we are talking about, and that's the bare facts in naked truth. And after the last show, persons came up to me everywhere that I went across the length and breadth of Tobago, Charleville to Crown Point. They want to hear more about employment. They want to know what is the truth, what are the facts when it comes to ex gratia payments and all of these things. And so here with me again, I brought my very good friend, my brother, Mr. Shamari Ajani, Activate Hector, who would really go through. And I just wanted to cut it up fine, Shamari, very quickly. And I want to delve into the meat of the matter, the heart of the matter, because we don't have much time today, it's only 1 hour. The PDP has said, vote for me because we will give you an ex gratia payment by December. Some people were excited about it because they thought, well, hey, free money, I'm getting something, finally they're giving me something. But then we said, and they heard us say, hold on, don't count those chickens at all. That is what they call the official bait and switch. Yes. And I want people to understand, Shamari, and let me just lay the context here. The first fact I want to put on the table is that the Tobago House of Assembly now hires almost 70% of the labor force in Tobago. Yes. And that is a fact, that is an indisputable fact at this point in time. And we have a situation where Vanos James, who is an economist and political advisor, has said, and it's a Guardian article dated January 27, 2021, that it is laughable that the THA hires the 15%. Again, that's fact number 2. Vanos James, an economist, said that. Fact number 3, and we will probably see the clip later on, Farley was on with Watson Duke, with Fazil Mohammed, and said one of the problems in Tobago, is that the Tobago House of Assembly hires too many people. It's overpopulated. And then we come on the platform and they say, we will give you an ex gratia payment. Shamari, what does that mean? Let's cut it up quickly so people can understand.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon, Kwesi, and good afternoon, everyone. Let's jump into the meat of the matter. Firstly, Watson Duke has made no mistake by way of articulating his agenda. The plan is very simple. It is to reduce the labor force on the island of Tobago for the benefit of himself and the advancement of the PDP as a political party and agency. The reason why Watson Duke can take that position very forcefully is because Watson Duke is following the instruction of his true political agency, which is established and is rooted in Trinidad.
Right.
And so there is an agenda to not only destabilize the assembly, but to make the island, quote unquote, ungovernable.
Yes.
The reason why I can say make the island ungovernable is because when you disengage people from their security, which comes by way of the stability given to them in their job, then what you are actually doing is unleashing on the landscape, on the island space, in the political context and everything else, a body of people who will now do almost anything out of an act of desperation or a sense of duty to provide either for self or for family or for community. And so what you will see when you send home, according to political advisor, activist, analyst, and former economist Vanos James,
yes,
what he is prepared to do, what they are prepared to do, is really create an environment that creates more crime on the island of Tobago, because persons will now begin to do the unimaginable and the unthinkable because they will have lost their employment.
So you're saying, so let's back it up. So you're saying quite a mouthful, Shaman, and I want to be very clear again and put it on the table.
Right.
The first thing you're saying is that the PDP's agenda is to reduce the labor force in Tobago. It means if you're moving from close to 70% to almost 15 to 16%, it means that out
But
of every
13 to 15, if you have to be true to what they said, 13
so
to 15.
15%. It means then that almost out of every 4 persons, you're thinking of sending home 3 people.
Yes, that is exactly what we are saying. And that now has been covered or masked with the promise of a payment that says, enjoy your Christmas.
Right.
And so I want the Tobagonian people to understand, Kwesi, that an ex gratia payment, and it cannot be underscored or overstated. I'll say it as often as I can because people need to understand. An ex gratia payment is the monies an organization gives to you when they are sending you home. It is a termination package. There are termination packages that are presided over by rule of law.
Yes.
It is constitutional. It is established in best practice. Precedents have been established. Those are called severance.
Severance, yes.
It is done on the basis of a negotiation amongst an employer, the employee, and a representing or advocating voice that we call a union.
Right.
When such a negotiation cannot be had because of the grounds of termination, which cannot be justified, they give you a piece of money to free themselves from liability, to free themselves from being pursued on criminal charges in the court, and that is what we call loosely hush money. In law and in organizational practice, they call that an ex gratia.
Right.
So they actually are saying, we are going to send you home, give you a piece of money to hush your mouth, and you have to take that.
So, and you know, some people are saying, but why would Watson do something like that? You know, why would he send people home? He ever did that before? And I saw a video recently, and it reminded me of a newspaper article and a story that was carried.
Right.
And Shomari that you made, where in the very PSA, the Public Service Association, which is supposed to represent the interests of the workers in the public service in Trinidad and Tobago, where a number of workers were sent home.
About 40.
40 workers were sent home, sent packing. And as a matter of fact, even the judge then had to speak about it in the judgment, the type of conditions and how wrong it was, how close to how onerous that was to send those people home under those conditions. So it means then that Watson Luke is saying, Shomari, has a track record of just sending people home.
Yes, sending people home for not either being compliant to his direct instructions, which most times cannot be supported by rule of law or by procedure. And he also has a history and a track record of sending people home because of their perceived political alliance or association. So Watson Duke practices political targeting and victimization.
So wait then, you're saying then, because you're right, I recall in the video the gentleman spoke about the fact that they were wearing another union's jerseys that represents them, the red jerseys of the union.
Yes.
And those people were targeted. And I also recall Watson Luke saying out of his own mouth that there will be no justice for the red flag people.
Yes, yes. If he were to win the elections of January 2021, he said there will be no justice, no mercy for anybody who ever supported the PNM and ever held or waved a red flag. And yes, I'm saying, Kwesi, that is a dangerous precedent. Because one, the fact that you can say there will be no mercy, it means that you intend to preside over whatever will befall a people. So you have become a judge, but more importantly, you have become an executioner.
He's going to pass the jury and straight to execution.
You've become an executioner, and you are saying that that what may be considered reasonable justice in the execution of your judgment will be determined on the basis of your political alliance. No more evil thing can be done to our people. If we are careful, Kwesi, that can create civil wars on the island of Tobago by spewing and cultivating this climate of hate and hostility and animosity. And you know, I was very careful. I was very particular to note when Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves would have sustained an injury by someone who was protesting a policy position that he held on to. And I'm saying that if that can happen as closely to our political space as it did in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what is to happen if Watson Duke continues to push this politics of hate and division on the island of Tobago, we will not only be afraid of our neighbors, we are likely to become afraid of our brothers and sisters, because he has successfully weaponized fear to create a culture of violence.
So there are a couple of things, and again, we're laying it on the table here, Shamar, because I don't want any of the viewers to ever lose where we are and what we're saying.
And we have to tie everything together.
So the first thing is, the people who are currently working in the Tobago House of Assembly are there's a clear and present danger.
Yes.
That is the PDP.
Yes.
And they have sent out their signals. They have said it whether in a veiled way or not, that one of the problems they intend to deal with is the overstaffing of the Tobago House of Assembly. And they're going to, well, for the people that they let go, which may be people who have red flags in the yards, they will get an ex gratia payment before Christmas. So that there's a timeline as well.
Now, I want you to understand that it isn't just the people who they will send home may or may not be PNM supporters, because you said earlier the facts are there, and facts are a stubborn thing.
Yes.
The PNM supportership on the island of Tobago is just about 9,000 persons.
Correct.
We have a labor force that is THA-led of about 75% of all the persons who are eligible to work on the island of Tobago. When you compare the number and you do the facts, it suggests that the amounts of persons who are working in the THA that are in fact PNMIs is less than 8%.
Right. Interesting.
When you
So
calculate
you're
the
hiring your
facts,
friends and family as PNM.
no further thing from the truth has ever been said. In fact, let me tell you how dangerous this is. If you reduce the employment levels from 65 to 70% to 13 to 15, when all we have is 8, then the greatest majority of people who will be sent home are people who have not openly declared support for any political agency.
So it doesn't matter if you have a red flag.
You could be red, black, green, yellow, purple, white. Once you have Tobagonian and they're working in THA, Watson Duke is saying you are going to be sent home with a reasonable pay, and we calling that an ex gratia. It's hush money to save them from liabilities in the court, because persons will want to challenge it. But if you already were paid, then there's no challenge, because there would have been offer and acceptance.
Correct.
And we are saying to the Tobagonian people, do not accept that. What you will be accepting is your termination of employment, and you need to protect your future.
Shamari, and I guess we'll take a break very soon, because you made a point that I want to settle and marinate with the people of Tobago. Because we now have a responsibility again, and that's why we're doing this show, to give you the facts to make an informed decision on December 6th.
Yes.
So you're saying the people who are being offered the ex gratia payment, that they think in time for Christmas you'll get a lot of money to buy some food and put up the Christmas tree and the decoration. As a matter of fact, you're saying that will be the last payment that you receive, because you have no work.
No form of engagement. There will be no alternative, because there is no private industries or private sector for which you can rely on if you were to be disengaged. And I made a loose statement by saying offer and acceptance, but we left out consideration.
Yes.
And consideration must be given with all reasonableness. And the fact that he has said that 5 weeks prior to the election means that there was reasonable time for consideration. So if you proceed to accept, then he would have been absolved of all legal claims against him and all legal liabilities. I'm saying to the people of Tobago, be careful with your patrimony. Do not accept Watson Duke's bribe and terminate your political life and future. That is what I'm saying.
So we'll stick up in here, because you also raised another point about the private sector. And I want us to get into what the state of Tobago's private sector, but more importantly than that, how do we truly develop a private sector in Tobago?
Yes.
What does it take to develop a private sector? And what steps and initiatives need to be taken? Because you can't go in the shop and pick up a private sector.
Correct. Nor does it rain from heaven like manna.
And you can't plant it in the ground and just expect that private sector to come. So we'll take a break at this point in time. And when we come back, we will be looking at the private sector in Tobago. My name is Kwesi Devines. This is For Fact's Sake, and I'm here with my good friend Shamari Hector, putting in naked truth and facts on the table. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I'm Patricia Nicholson Richards. Welcome to the headlines on the Tobago News Network. The Buku Boardwalk is set to be the highlight of the Buku community. After officially beginning construction in 2018, the boardwalk is now a sight to behold by both locals and tourists alike.
Residents of Buku can now boast of one of the island's most picturesque infrastructural developments. The Buku Boardwalk project was conceptualized in 2012 and began construction officially in 2018.
I remember clearly, as if it was yesterday, speaking to the people of Buku right across the road at the car park. We were having a political meeting, and I said to the people of Buku that I had a dream that Buku beachfront at some point in time will be upgraded and uplifted to the point of having a boardwalk.
Although there were several challenges presented along the way that served to impede the delivery of this project, inclusive of quality control issues with previous contractors, adverse marine conditions, and the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Dennis remained steadfast in his desire to deliver on his promise.
Well, it's about creating green, safe, social, and beautiful spaces and places for Tobagonians first and foremost. We want to have a situation where the average Tobagonian and their families by extension can come and enjoy the beauty of not only this community but even other areas in Tobago in a very pristine and safe and beautiful environment. So it's really about creating those spaces for Tobagonians first and foremost, and of course it will encourage and attract tourism.
The village of Buku is one of Tobago's tourism hubs, with the world-renowned Sunday school event that usually takes place on a weekly basis. The boardwalk will be a welcome addition to this area's tourism product once pandemic restrictions are lifted. Mr. Dennis also believes that businesses in the area will benefit positively.
It's also good for tourism and, of course, the businesses within this community, because once persons come in to visit the boardwalk, the expectation is that they will have a drink, they will want to eat some food, and that of course will encourage spending and entrepreneurial activities.
The Buku Boardwalk will formally be opened at the end of this month.
Thank you for joining us for the headlines on the Tobago News Network. Join us in an hour for another update.
And welcome back. We're here talking with Shamari, just the facts, for fact's sake, Shamari. Oh, we're not making any joke here. We're putting it as it is, as raw as it can be, because that's how we have to treat the facts. We don't want to put it up, no buttering it up, putting it as it is. Before the break, we started talking about the private sector, because it's okay to talk about the public sector and the fact that we do need a robust private sector in Tobago. And we do. And the fact is, the PNM actually, under the PNM, the tourism sector boomed the highest in Tobago. We realized we achieved our highest ever international arrivals here in Tobago. However, with the onset first and foremost of SARS, and then we had the global economic downturn in 2009, it was really telling on the industry. Right. And of course, the demands of the industry are now saying, hey, we need more, we need better route. Because the first thing you want to do when you travel, the first thing you're doing is booking a hotel. Yes. After you choose your destination, you're looking for somewhere to stay. So it means then Tobago needs to develop a private sector. And I've heard people say, well, the problem is that too much people are being hired by the THA, and again, that is a foolish argument as far as I'm concerned. Because if too many people are being hired by the THA and the private sector, they say has nobody to hire, how come some people are still saying that they're unemployed? It would mean then that they could easily fall into the private sector. The reality is, for a robust private sector, one of the things that is required, of course, is a greater population to deal with.
Yes, most definitely.
And I mean, my background is in tourism. I studied tourism up to the postgraduate level. And one of the, I heard of all types of definitions of tourism. But the best definition has been the temporary expansion of your population. It means then outside of bringing in another 50 or 60,000 people on a permanent basis into Tobago, we can use tourism to boost our population. So it means we have a chunk of people to provide services, goods and services. So how do we build Shamari, a private sector that says, hey, we have tourism at the center. We want to use tourism to buoy the rest of the private sector.
But the tourism aspect of it will firstly establish as it were the marketing attractiveness of your destination island or country. And so using tourism as the axle around which we grow island's economy and strengthen our private sector, or in our create a robust sector will definitely require an influx because the truth is this: even if we were to have more goods and services, the reality is that we don't have enough persons to spend the money.
Yes.
It will be the same number of persons who will just be spending the same quote-unquote money, whether limited or what that they may have, on the few items that they like, because persons are driven by nature and their idiosyncrasies.
Yes.
And so they have preferences, they have desires, they are drawn into comfort zones very easily. I have been on record as saying that Tobago as an island space needs to be able to attract just about 1.5 million people in short order.
Yes.
In short order. We could probably start with a consideration of 250,000 people, ensure that our private sector is established that can grow and cause our expansion. Whatever the case, we need more people. Now, crazy facts are a stubborn thing, as I would have said. And the members opposite are saying that they intend to build Tobago community by community. They are on record as having said that they would give each district or each community $10 million. I have in my possession a document that suggests that Penn has the longest memory. In this document, it is titled the 2017 Manifesto Tobago Council of the PNM.
Right.
In this document, where strategic steps were being taken further to the achievements of former PNM-led Tobago House of Assembly administration for the construction of a robust private sector. Our then political leader said, and I quote, "The overarching strategy, therefore, is one that is community-driven and productivity-focused. Just as one builds a house block by block by block, so too shall Tobago be developed community by community by community. In other words, community development will be the axis around which Tobago's future development will revolve." It goes on to say, "In the short to medium term, the Tobago economy will be fueled by the natural gas of tourism, agriculture, light manufacturing, and services appropriate to communities. This approach provides tremendous hope and a clear vision for the development and empowerment of our communities." Nice words to say, a robust private sector.
Correct.
"This will facilitate entrepreneurship, job creation, the reduction of poverty levels, improvement in the standards of living, and the quality of life for all that will be in harmony with the necessary potentials." In other words, this was one of the strategic steps that were being taken to have a person or a people be so equipped, so supported, so resourced that they will construct a destiny by constructing or building a robust private sector where they would become the creative driving forces of that industry. So the point I'm making, Kwesi, is that it doesn't happen without strategy and without system. It's step by step, it's developmental, it's incremental. So when we are saying that the labor force, or when they are saying that the labor force in the THA is too great and they need to disengage the people, we are in fact saying we have recognized, we aren't fools, that THA cannot be the only kid on the block.
Correct.
But in order to introduce new children to the game, in order to bring in other competitors on the field, we must create an enabling environment that gives them an opportunity to benefit from the rules of the game.
So what are the things that need to be done and have been done to create this very enabling environment? Because
Education and training,
right,
education and training. So we've moved from just under 4% persons having tertiary certifications to upward or just about 20%. We've reduced the unemployment level from 25% to 4.3%. And you know, based on international standards, anything under 5% is considered full employment. Right? We have identified the lands and have entered into lease and contractual agreement with persons in the agricultural sector for the development of our agricultural industries and our agro-processing industries and other downstream industries. We've invited for consideration agencies that have brand like Sandals and now Marriott to come and help us to accelerate the rates of productivity towards the construction of a robust private sector. And I can go on and on. We're talking about 2 days ago or yesterday, it were 300 persons graduating from the vocational skills program in the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor with entrepreneurial and employable skills that can be used to enter into entrepreneurial business and entrepreneurial industries. The point I'm making is this, Kwesi. Not only have we laid the foundation step by step, we have also provided resources to connect persons with opportunities.
Which is what I was just about to ask. So you train me, so you provided tertiary level training for those who so inclined. Vocational training for those again so inclined, which may include people who also receive tertiary level education as well. So now I know how to do, right? So I know how to do it, but I need to know, I know what to do. I have the education, so now we need to get into the how. And I need the resources as well to help enable me to do that. So what resources are being provided to these people, whether it's people who are tertiary educational, tertiary educated, or have received vocational training, whether in agro-processing or otherwise, to make sure that they can now drive forward to start developing themselves, their business and so on.
There are 2 primary facilities had in the THA. That is the Capital Investment Initiative under the Division of Finance and the Economy.
Venture Capital.
Venture Capital Initiative under Finance and the Economy, as well as the Business Development Unit, BDU, under DCD-EDL, Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor. And these agencies, those persons who will train, who have the skills, who have the desire, who have the vision, but do not have the resources, can go to these agencies and get monetary support and funding to be able to establish their businesses and their enterprises so that we can grow a robust private sector. They in turn have an obligation and a contractual agreement with us that once established, they will now attract persons from within their communities to create their workforce. So it means that a business will be established in community X and will be staffed by persons from said community. Which therefore shifts attention away from THA engagement. In the meantime, however, what we have done is create hope and reasonable expectation by saying, let's move you away from short-term contracts, give you 3-year contractual agreements that you can go to other funding and financial agencies and seek to develop your life in harmony with your possibilities. And so you can now go to the bank and say, listen, I want to get a loan to send my child to school. I want to get a loan to buy a welding plant. I want to get a loan to be able to buy seedlings to cultivate a piece of land that I would have had from a lease agreement. And the point is that all of the facilities have been put in place by a PNM-led administration of the Tobago House of Assembly. If others are so inclined to believe that they can do differently, don't just tell us the what, because your what is sending us home. Tell us the how. Having sent us home, what and how will you put things in place to ensure that we can meet the reasonable standards of our life by way of attending our basic human needs?
So, and something that you brought up there, Shamari, that I want to now delve into, because we've spoken about the what, in terms of developing that private sector from the ground up, community level, block by block, as you said. We've created the enabling environment, so we're now giving you access to BDU funding,
seed capital,
seed funding, and so on, so that you can develop your business. And then we are saying now that we have sorted out the supply side, we want the demand. And the demand was meant to come from that temporary increase in the population that I spoke to earlier.
Yes, of course.
So
of
that
course.
tourism aspect in particular.
More goods, more service mean that more persons to be attracted to that.
Correct. And so it means then that when we had our Sanders on the table, that we could have provided in the short-term employment in the construction sector, and it was going to be 2 resorts, so there would have been employment as well. Not only was there going to be direct employment, but now these people who are trained at the community level could now provide services and goods to the very Sandals and so on. But Sanders is now done and dusted, and it's done and dusted because a man boasted. He said that he was the one responsible for chasing away Sanders, and when he is in charge, then Sanders could come back.
But how can we, as a Tobagonian people, as a right-minded people, countenance the fact that a man robbed us of opportunity and is coming back to us and saying, give me a higher position with greater power for the execution of greater control to rob us of what? More opportunities?
And this is where I am. So 2 things I want to delve into, and I know we'll have to take a break very soon. One, we now have another opportunity. So Watson said he boasted and he said he chased away Sanders.
Yes.
We now have an opportunity with Marriott, and I want us to look at Marriott and get some of the facts about Marriott as well. He is trying to chase away Marriott as well, by the way.
Yes.
He's trying his best to say, don't let Marriott come here, and whatever they think the case might be.
To nesting
and you know, the thing is, I mean, I have a love for the environment. Everybody knows that. I have a passion for the environment. And I tell people the Environmental Management Agency is one, again, a fact here, has been taken as far as the Privy Council by Fishermen and Friends of the Sea.
Yes.
And their whatever they have done has been able to stand scrutiny every step of the way.
Yes.
So it means that this Marriott resort, just like the Sanders were supposed to, will have to get EMA approval.
With due diligence.
With the due diligence.
Correct.
So we're saying, yes, this is the dream, this is the vision, but the EMA will be the checks and balances when it comes to the environment and society. So there's a social contract, and I want my next guest to speak to that some more. But a social contract was signed by the PDP, Farley Augustine. And you have here very clear examples, Shamari, of breaches of that very contract, because you're looking at the deliberate and the endangering the ability of Tobagonians.
And the livelihoods of Tobagonians.
Now, if that is not a breach of a contract, a social contract, I don't know what is. And I heard an interview with Farley on Fazil's program saying, don't worry, he will sanction Watson Duke if need be. But the fact is, after he called Franca Cordner and Melanie stink and dirty,
and disrespected them.
And disrespected Tobago women and a whole, because he clearly has no respect. And Farley attempted to apologize. Watson said very clearly, Farley cannot speak for me. The only person that can speak for me is myself
and my attorney.
So with all Farley speaking about social contract
and sanction,
that
cannot be exacted.
He is unable to control the crazy, the chaos that is Watson View.
Yes.
So whether he pretends to be chief secretary in name or not, and the next time we chat, we speak about it. Because Watson has already said he ain't want no chief secretary stupidness.
I quote, chief secretary stupidness.
Right. He doesn't want that.
And he said, and Tobago doesn't want that.
And he has already said that Farley isn't ready. So it means Farley can't speak for him. So even when it's time to apologize, Farley can't apologize for him.
Correct.
He ain't want no chief secretary stupidness, so he doesn't have any regard or respect for the position of chief secretary.
Farley doesn't have rank, power, or privilege to sanction him.
So it means that Farley is afraid or unable or is too feeble in order to
manage, contain, direct, or even hold Watson accountable to high standards of reasonableness.
Yes. So what I want to do is I want us to take a break, and we will get right back into these things so that we can continue this discussion. Shamari, thank you very much for being on set with us. I'm sure we'll continue to have many other discussions.
Thank you for having me. God bless you. And I want to encourage the people of Tobago to do right by your own destiny. Protect your future and vote solidly and resoundingly for the People's National Movement. God bless you.
Thank you, Shamari. All right, so we go to a break right now, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Patricia Nicholson Richards. Welcome to the headlines on the Tobago News Network. A training facility is to be named after a former THA secretary, PNM assemblyman and stalwart, Mrs. Claudia Groom-Duke. Here's more.
PNM's prospective candidate for Darrell Spring WIM, Kelvin Morris, is calling for the soon-to-be-completed WIM sporting facility and youth multi-skill training center to be named after PNM stalwart and former representative Claudia Groom-Duke. Speaking at the PNM's public meeting at the WIM Community Center last evening, Morris said Groom-Duke had a dream of ensuring the young people of the area live meaningful lives through skills training opportunities.
Like Martin Luther King Jr., our former area representative, Claudia Groom-Duke, she had a dream that providing skills training opportunities to our young men in the area would equip them with the requisite tools to lead to meaningful lives and turn them away from the negativity that was plaguing the communities of our district at that time. Today, that dream is but a stone's throw away from becoming a reality. And I want to put on record tonight that there will be no fitting person to name that facility after, but to call that facility the Claudia Groom-Duke WIM Sporting and Multi-Skills Training Facility. And that is the only thing I'm putting on the table going into this election. That once that facility is completed, I want to see the name of Claudia Groom-Duke engraved on that facility.
Morris added that due to the current COVID-19 restrictions, he was not able to fulfill his plans for the hosting of major sporting tournaments and events. However, the former footballer promised once the restrictions are lifted, his electoral district can look forward to the staging of major inter-district events.
During the last campaign, I spoke about identifying recreational spaces to host major sport tournaments and events, including inter-district events. Unfortunately, the current restrictions did not allow for the hosting of such activities. However, upon the resumption of team sports and activities, the Brandon Recreational Grounds at Idlewild, as well as Jubilee Park in Sangsters Hill, will host a major inter-district tournament that will highlight the sporting talents of Darrell Spring, Montpelier, Montmary, Glen Road, Sangsters Hill, Pump Mill, Idlewild, Montgrace, WIM, and the environs. And Marysill, not because I lost you, you also will be involved.
Thank you for joining us for the headlines on the News Network. I'm Patricia Nicholson Richards. Do have a good evening.
And you're viewing For Fact's Sake. My name is Kwesi Devines, and I have with me on set now a man with immense political experience, a young veteran, some people say, Mr. Joseph Frederick. And Joseph, we are just left off with Shamari speaking about a couple of things that I want you to touch on, or want us to touch on, as a matter of fact. We were speaking about building out Tobago, the private sector in Tobago, and all of the efforts that were made by the PNM administration, first and foremost, to provide the tools for people. So there was tertiary level education for some people, there was vocational training for other people, there was seed funding to develop businesses, the through the BDU and venture capital. And we were saying now that we have done all of the work, now that we have empowered people, made sure that they've graduated and received the skills, we were ready for them to provide goods and services for that increase, that temporary increase in the population that was provided through tourism. And what the plan on that level, because things were happening at the ground level, and at the next level, we were saying, hey, let's get a world-renowned brand hotel, let's get a new international airport terminal, a world-class terminal, that we can now attract more flights, more persons, because I can tell you with my background in tourism, one of the challenges, and I remember going to represent Tobago in London once already, and it was a huge convention center. And a lady walked up to me from all the booths, she just passed all the other booths, and came straight to the Tobago booth. And she said, you know, I was supposed to visit Tobago. And I said, so why didn't you? There are just so many things. And I started to list off all the attractions and all the things she could do. And she said, I have no problem in all of that. That's exactly why I was coming to Tobago. She said, you all don't have what I want. And I said, but what do you mean? I just listed out all of these things. She said, I fly first class and I stay in 5-star rooms. That's my vacation. So it means that we are losing out, Joseph, on a group of people who fly first class, fill the front of the plane, and stay in 5-star rooms. Because we have nice properties in Tobago, but we don't have 5-star properties. So it means then that as well, whenever you're catering for those first class passengers, you have to have the lounges, the business class lounge, because when I buy a ticket to go first class or business class, they take you to a lounge and they treat you extra special. And every airline looks forward to selling out the front of the plane, as they say. Once you sell out the front of the plane, the back of the plane becomes lanyap. And it means then that if we have the facilities, the physical facilities, a brand new airport terminal, and we have the hotel, the 5-star hotel rooms, we can start attracting the airlines and attracting the people who fly on those airlines in the front of the plane, who will now want to get goods and services because they're staying in the Sandals or a Marriott, the goods and services that the very people that we went through all of the effort to train, whether tertiary or vocational, and that we gave seed money to develop their businesses, they would be providing services to the tourism sector that these high-end tourists will now be able to engage those services.
Well, you see, the issue here is that your detractors are going to be putting into the space that these things have not been accomplished yet.
Yes.
And so the tourism plan is a failure. And it's a bit unfortunate that as Tobago-loving people, persons who come from Tobago and I believe love our Tobago, they would somehow attempt to undermine the progress that has been made. It saddened me when they stood up and fought against an international brand name like Sandals coming to Tobago. And you know, you begin to question some of their Tobago-ness. Do they really love Tobago? Do they really care for the Tobago that we have been working so hard to build? They talk about the private sector, but when you look at their posturing, it suggests that they don't care about anything but themselves.
Right.
And so they are going to use any of the gaps that may pop up along the way of developing. A lot has gone in to develop Tobago thus far. And yes, the gaps exist. But what do we do as we push towards this vision of a Tobago where the Tobagonians are able to build the businesses, engage in entrepreneurial pursuits? What do we do as we push towards that? Do we erase, do we undermine the progress that has been made, or do we say to ourselves as a Tobago people that we have accomplished so much thus far and we need to ensure that, one, we have an administration that understands what it means to manage at Tobago space. We have some persons coming out here, Mr. Devines, that are saying that they can take care of Tobago, but the leader of the organization has promised persons in the PSA a head office in Tobago that we are yet to see.
Right.
And we are saying that if you can't manage something as little as the PSA, how can you manage Tobago? It's really unfortunate. So, you know, I am hoping that the right thinking Tobagonians, because there are some persons that would never want the best for themselves or those around them. And we understand that. We see them for who they are. But the right thinking Tobagonians understand what is being done, understand that along the way to achieving all these major developmental goals, some of these things are time bound, and we are committed to the process. We are committed to filling the gaps as we go along. And I'm hoping that those Tobagonians.
And you see, you spoke to something there, Joseph, and the reality is there will be gaps because there's no perfection. I mean, I am certainly not perfect. You are not perfect. Show me someone who is perfect. We are all imperfect. The reality is, as imperfect people that are part of an organization, the PNM remains less imperfect than the PDP.
Very true, very true.
And I say that without fear of contradiction. And again, it's not a race for perfection because we are not able to achieve that. There have been mistakes made, yes, and there may be other mistakes that will be made. But show me a man who has not made a mistake, and I will show you a man who has made nothing at all. The easiest thing to do is point and say, as you said, this is a gap, that is a gap, without stopping at any point in time to and looking back and saying, hold on, this is the big picture. And the big picture is we recognize that there is work to do to build the private sector. We saw a pathway to do it, and we are working on a pathway. There is no magic wand to
Very
wave.
true, no magic wand.
And it means that everything will take time. Even to build the Marriott Resort, we have everybody around the table saying yes, they want to build. It still needs the EMA's approvals and their statutory process. So that will take
Some
time.
Very true.
So as much as we want it and we want it now, it is unrealistic to think that that can happen.
So it somehow speaks to a certain degree of leadership immaturity.
Yes.
Where somehow they believe that things can happen overnight. They don't understand what governance means and what it means to be in charge of something like the Tobago Assembly. And that is, to me, a clear indication, and it should be a clear indication to all voters, that in this election, as much as they would like to put it off as being an election of what is perfect and what is not, in this election, what matters is who can govern Tobago from the 7th of December and who cannot.
Yes.
And based on the posturings and based on some of the words that are being put out, it is clear that they believe that it's a pie in the sky where you just go pick like a fruit on a tree, not recognizing that the fruit tree has to grow first
Correct.
before you can pick the fruit.
And I think that is one of the things. There's a saying, someone is sitting in the shade now because someone else planted a tree many years ago. And the reality is the PNM has planted the tree for Tobagonians to eventually sit in the shade. And we've been putting in the work. And it means then that we have to go with the process. And anyone who is trying to cut down that tree, cut down the tree that is growing to provide shade for my children and my children's children, we have to be wary of that person. And again, I don't want to make this a Watson Duke thing, you know. Watson Duke is part of the problem. The reality is Farley is unable to manage Watson Duke. He cannot speak on his behalf now when they are out of office. What can he do when they are in office, or if ever they are in
There's
office?
a far
God forbid.
darker reality, and that is that the PDP appears to be unable to manage the affairs of the people of Tobago. Look at what they did with Tobago Autonomy, Gracie. Look at what they did. We had a great opportunity as a people.
Yes.
And again, they continue to sell is perfection or nothing. And I think any right-thinking Tobagonian understands that on the way to getting to that definition of perfection, there are things that we have to do along the way.
Right.
We had an opportunity here in Tobago to move from the Act number 40 of 1996
yes.
to achieve greater autonomy for the people of Tobago, for us the people of Tobago.
Yes.
And they stood in the way. They told their handlers in Trinidad
Yes.
that not to support this bill. And it's a bit unfortunate that Tobagonians are going to be that damaged and dangerous to us, the Tobago people.
And you see, you raised something there that we definitely probably need a full hour to talk about, because they are now purporting and proposing almost independence from Tobago. And you see the difference again, because Watson has gone out there very clearly and said he is speaking about independence. And Farley tried his best to massage it and butter it down and say it's a federal state. Watson is very clear in his mind, and he is still the leader, that what he wants is independence, to separate Tobago from Trinidad. And they're doing it on a flawed premise that somewhere outside of Tobago, there are trillions of cubic meters of gas and oil, and we're going to make trillions of US dollars from it. And BPTT has already come out and BP, I think it was, and other experts have come out and said, well, this claim is ludicrous. As a matter of fact, there's a Guardian article that I would probably want to share again that shows that the amount that Vanna James is saying that we can get is greater than even the US economy itself. And to make matters worse, we just had COP26, where we are moving, they're saying we're going to be moving away from fossil fuels. So it means that the future of energy is green. And what we need to do is start looking towards providing our Tobagonians, young Tobagonians, with the incentives to look at green energy and look towards a green future. And those are the things that I've been hearing Tracy Davidson Celestini, political leader, speaking about.
She has been speaking to it, and as an administration, there has been steps taken to ensure that we, the Tobago people, are equipped with the tools necessary to compete on that global marketplace. But you said that Watson is clear. To me, the rest of the PDP appears to be confused because he is clear as to what this is that or that is the other. But the rest of the PDP they are always saying, well, no, it's not this. We meant that. Or no. What kind of leadership? What kind of administration are there? Let's assume that we, the people in Tobago, take God out of our thoughts and vote them into office. What kind of administration would we have? One morning they wake up, they say, well, here's what, we're going left. And next morning they wake up and say, we're going right. What is going to happen to the private sector that they claim that they care about? What is going to happen to these government workers that they claim that they care about? We need an administration that is clear, knows what they are doing, and knows how to get it. Yes, it's going to take some time to achieve it, but we need that kind of administration. And I'm hoping that our viewers and the rest of Tobago recognize that it's yes, speaking fancy words may matter. But what matters most is being able to lead and govern Tobago beyond this COVID pandemic and into the future.
And you dropped a number of bites, Joseph, that we will have to dig into. But we're out of time for today. And I just want to leave our viewers with a quote that the alternative to the PNM, and you've heard everything that Joseph just laid out, is chaos.
Very true.
And we're seeing the chaos from the PDP. Viewers, this is For Fact's Sake, and this is episode number 2. We will be getting deeper and deeper into the facts, taking apart some of the proposals that have been put on the table to fool the people of Tobago. My name is Kwesi Devines, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.